Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and I have another great show. We're going to have another great show. We're going to be talking about UFO stories, rain all over the earth. We're going to be talking about all various weird stories that I've found about UFOs and aliens and having some fun tonight. So stick around and rain all over the earth. So stick around and enjoy yourselves. But first, as always, I'm going to show you artwork from my own upcoming graphic novel, Scumdogs, which I work on every day. And when it's out, go back it on Indiegogo. Scumdogs is a parody comic book, and you're going to love it. Here's the cover for one of this is the extreme cover for one. This is the extreme variant cover for my graphic novel, Scumdogs. Now, this cover I did to basically bring you back to the 90s of the extreme comics boom from then. Scumdogs is a parody comic book. I parody the cartoons from the 80s and 90s and any other time I wish. The Scumdogs themselves, they're basically parodies of villains from 80s cartoons like the Decepticons from Transformers or Cobra from G.I. Joe. They're basically a bunch of morons who want to rule the universe, but they're going to be fun as hell to read about. Now, the Scumdogs, well, how they become the Scumdogs is in the future, there's such a thing known as transhumanism, where you transform yourself into where you alter your body and become a superhuman, either through science, and in this case, magic as well. Basically transcending humanity. Well, there's a sporting event held with superhumans as the pro athletes, but you have to transform yourself into a superhuman monster to compete because it's the Scumdogs. Because it's called the Scumdog Sports. They're called Scumdogs because, well, they traded in their humanity and became monsters. Now, the Scumdogs are led by Deathmug. He's the purple guy with the metal mask over here. He's based on various villains from 80s cartoons. You can see the way he looks. He's got a skull for a face like Skeletor from He-Man. It's also a metal mask that looks very much like the main villain from G.I. Joe, the leader of Cobra Commander. You can see him fighting his archenemy Buick Starpoon. Buick Starpoon is the guy with the pink pompadour hair over there. He's an arrogant, overblown military maniac. He's one of those military type characters that never listens to anyone, never admits they're wrong, and completely gets him and his team, the Wild Rangers, up over their heads in it when they basically fight the Scumdogs. But don't worry, they usually pull it off by basically blowing up everything around them. He's a complete moron, but hey, he's going to be fun. He's based on various, well, heroes and villains. Like Duke from G.I. Joe. Him and his team are G.I. Joe parodies, but they're also, if you notice his uniform, how it's green and white and looks like it's from Star Trek, they're also parodies of Star Wars and Star Trek characters. Buick Starpoon is also a parody of Han Solo and Captain Kirk as well. As I said, he's overblown and arrogant. But because they're G.I. Joe parodies, the Wild Rangers are G.I. Joe parodies. His team and stuff like that are G.I. Joe parodies. That means each of them has a military specialty. If you read it on the backs of the boxes the G.I. Joe action figures used to come in, they list their military specialties. Basically, a bunch of special skills and abilities that allowed them to fight Cobra. The same can be true here, but the Wild Rangers are idiots because this is a parody book, so they're going to be, well, out there and complete maniacs. Over here, we have another of the Wild Rangers, Roadhog. He's the guy in the darker blue uniform. His military specialty is that he's a soldier. He used to be part of the United States Army, and then he joined the Space Forces. Then you have this bald guy with a gun down here in the lighter blue uniform. His name is Beach Pounder. His military specialty is that he's a Marine. Yeah, he's a Marine. Then you have this guy back here in the red uniform driving his vehicle, firing off his missiles. His name is Blast Tank. His military specialty is that he's a heavy vehicle specialist, otherwise known as a tanker. Now, this covers one of 3 different variant covers. You'll be able to back when my Indiegogo goes live, so you have that to look forward to too. It looks pretty good, huh? Get this right here. Yeah. Looking pretty good. Let's go look at some more characters. Here we have Girl Friday. She's another member of the Wild Rangers. She's Buick Starpoon's second in command. She's basically a parody on the Girl Friday archetype character. What's a Girl Friday character? It's basically a female soldier that's in love with her superior officer. But because I'm parodying it, she is Buick Starpoon's second in command, and she hates his gut. That's guts. And she hates his guts. That's the joke. She's not in love with him. She was assigned to the Wild Rangers to basically babysit them. Because as I said, the Wild Rangers tend to save the day from the Scumdogs. As I said, they basically do it by blowing stuff up. And because of all the collateral damage they were doing, her superiors in the Space Forces assigned Girl Friday to basically be Buick Starpoon's second in command, and she hates his guts because she thinks her career in the military is over. Mm-hmm. Now we're here, we'll look at Deathmug's Henchmen. Because in all 80s cartoons, the main villain of the cartoon would have a henchman and they do his bidding. But usually they'd be complete morons. Well, these are my morons. The big fat pink guy down here is Sloppy. And the blue guy with the top hat up here is Murder Mouth. These guys are basically a parody of Bebop and Rocksteady from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Here we have Hair Metal Doctor. Hair Metal Doctor is another member of the Scum Dogs. He's basically, as you see, he's a completely ordinary human. He only joined up the Scum Dogs after they became supervillains, after they were banned from sports. They used to be pro athletes, as I said, but they got banned for sports, and now they use their powers to try and take over the universe. He was hired later on. He's a parody of a character. He's a parody of a character from G.I. Joe known as Dr. Mindbender, except who was a mad scientist. And there you get the idea. But my mad scientist has been crossed over with a rocker, and because I think that's awesome, he goes by the name Hair Metal Doctor. He thinks of all the machines the Scum Dogs use to try to take over the universe. And here we have Miss Breasting Melons, another member of the Scum Dogs. As you see, she's another ordinary human. She is a parody of a character from G.I. Joe known as the Baroness, one of those, femme fatale spy characters, a sexy female spy type character. The joke here is that she's basically a dumb blonde from California. She only joined up the Scum Dogs to be evil for fun. All right, you get the idea. We exit out of this now. Now we'll go look at some more. Now we'll go over and look at some Indiegogos real quick before we get into other stuff. Let's go over here. Let's see. Blood Realm Wrath of Kings has made 11,339 with 9 days left. Oh, this looks like an interesting book. Let's take a look at it. Blood Realm, an epic of our time. Blood Realm Wrath of Kings marks the beginning of a new age in the saga, featuring an all-star cast of guest artists. Okay. And the artwork looks pretty good. Well, look at that artwork. Yeah. A tale that spans the ages. In the aftermath of the Battle of Vergoroth, 3 commandos receive a distress call from a downed research vessel in the Forbidden Desert, where they then encounter a ruthless creature. But in order to slay their foe, they must uncover its mysterious origin. Ooh, look at this artwork. It looks good. Darkness Reigns. Blood Realm Wrath of Kings will merge both dark fantasy and sci-fi in this spine-chilling tale of betrayal, vengeance, and destiny. This is the most ambitious volume in the series, featuring 3 jam-packed issues with short stories accompanying the main saga. Okay. Wrath of Kings Digital Edition, $5. Oh, I've heard about this book, Blood Realm. Blood Realm Wrath of Kings, $15. Wrath of Kings, Blood Realm 9 This perk will get you new Blood Realm storyline, the exclusive Blood Realm 9 variant. All comics will be signed to creator Robert Jurek, and you will also get his stretch goals and bonuses that are unlocked. Oh, Wirehead graphic novel for $20. You can still back that book here. Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's take a look at this trailer. All right. Blood Realm, Wrath of Kings. You can back it on Indiegogo. This book comes from Alterna Press. Or rather, it's an Alterna, or it's part of Alterna and stuff like that. So go back it, folks. Let's look at some more books. Let's see. Though, yeah. We also have... We'll look at Thin Blue Line first. This is Mike Barron's new book. You can back it for $25. It's made $21,068 with 30 days left. So that's pretty good. Let's go look at this. You can back this book for, well, you can get the digital version for $10, but you can get the print version for $25. It's 56 full color pages proudly printed in the USA. Now let's look at this trailer.
Beginning with issue number 1, Mike Barron wrote Marvel's The Punisher for over 5 years, approaching it as a straight crime comic, without any superheroes, aliens, or robots. Over the course of 60 issues, Barron elevated the gritty anti-hero into one of the most popular and enduring characters in the Marvel Comics universe. Now he brings that same ultra-realistic intensity to his latest graphic novel, Thin Blue Line. In the middle of a long, hot summer, a police shooting ignites a city. Activists, opportunists, and provocateurs descend to riot, loot, burn, and kill. Thin Blue Line follows Officer Valeria Baca and her partner as their detail guarding the mayor turns into a battle for survival. Right along on this harrowing tale, two law enforcement officers fighting for their community and their own survival. Eisner winner Mike Barron has created an alarming tale that unflinchingly examines human fallibility on every level. Along with penciler Joe Arnold, himself a full-time police officer, and talented anchor Jeff Slemons, they've created a moving and entertaining story ripped straight from today's headlines. Thin Blue Line exposes the defund the police movement and its consequences for society, but several comic book companies have refused to publish it. Now we're asking you to join the effort to distribute it independently and help support the men and women of law enforcement. Get your copy of the only graphic novel to offer an unflinching and not always flattering look at the men and women of law enforcement during a time when we need them the most. Not all heroes wear capes. It's a thin blue line between the rule of law.
And that was Thin Blue Line, folks. It's a new Mike Barron book. And as I said, you can back this book for $25 for the print version. 56 full-color pages, proudly printed in the USA, and it looks like one hell of a great-looking book. So go back it. All right, let's go look at some other stuff real quick. Let's see. We got Thin Blue Line, and we have Pirate Queen. Let's take a look at Pirate Queen real quick. Let's see, Pirate Queen. This is the campaign to fund Pirate Queen issue 2, the 60-page graphic novel by Mandy Summers and Clint Helinski. But you can not only get this book, which is going to cost you $25 to back this book, you have a choice of several different covers. There's cover A and cover B. Each of them looks great, and you can back them for $25, but you can also get a cover C. Here's the covers and stuff like that. And you can get cover C, which is a naughty cover. All of them look great and they're fully printed. Let's read the story of this book. On the outer edges of the known galaxy, Adventurer Witch joined the pirate crew on her continuing adventures as she faces off against alien monsters, bounty hunters, and the Galactic Imperial Union, and against just some drunk guys hitting on her at a space bar. The Pirate Queen has her hands full either way because everybody's looking to tap that space booty. There's more treasure chests and pirate booty than you can shake your yard arm at. Step on board the Star Raider laddie with the crew and get ready to blast off into adventure. Looks pretty good, huh? You can also get the Keisha figure, one Ava Bloodstone Pirate Queen Keisha figure, action figure, shipped to your mailing address for $10. Here it is. Let's go look at this trailer.
Dive into adventure with the Pirate Queen. Plunge your sword deep into that pirate booty. Stare in awe of that magnificent pirate chest. The Pirate Queen races across the universe in another all-out, action-packed galactic adventure. Don't miss out. The Pirate Queen.
And that looks good, huh? Go back this book. It's from Mandy Summers. It's up on Indiegogo. Looking great as well. All right, let's go over here. We're 15 minutes in, not doing too bad. Let's see. Also, back the Dragon Guard. You can back this book for $25 for each variant cover. It's made $170. It's still you can still back it, folks. You can back this book for $25. Let's go on and look at some alien stories now. Let's see. There are quite a few we'd read through. UFOs and aliens. We're going to be talking about the weird stuff tonight. Maybe even look at this story here. New plan to terraform Mars. With artificial magnetic field. All right. Let's see. And our Argentine UFO witness claims to have been teleported 40 miles by bright light. New study to look for ancient alien space trash. We'll start off with this one. All right. Not bad. All right. Let's get into it. All right. Archaeologists know the place to find the best stuff at an ancient dig site is wherever the people who live there dumped their trash. Police looking for evidence know the best place to look for it is in the trash. If this is such a good way to solve a mystery, why aren't astronomers looking through the trash to find evidence of extraterrestrials visiting Earth? Before we answer that, ask yourself this question. Where would aliens toss their trash? If your answer was someplace on the surface of our planet, move it to the back of the line and try again. All right. In this paper, we present an overlooked and, in terms of feasibility, simple SETI strategy. It attempts to answer the question whether any spacefaring civilizations has surveilled the Earth by means of probes at any point in history. In a preparent study, Stockholm University astrophysicist Britt Rariel and her international team assume extraterrestrials think like humans and would send probes to other planets to research them before sending landing parties. Just as Mars has many probes from Earth in its orbit and other planets have a few, Earth could conceivably be circled by alien probes, possibly too small to see or perhaps disguised. Harvard astronomer Ivy Loeb suggests interstellar comet Onimura could be an alien probe. I keep trying to say that name. Those probes, like ours, would eventually stop working and become junk. The big challenge is looking at the tens of thousands of pieces of space junk orbiting Earth and eliminating anything that's not alien trash. Sounds impossible? It's actually easier than you think, and you can be part of the project. We show that even the small pieces of reflective debris in orbit around the Earth can be identified through searches for multiple transients in old photographic plate material exposed before the launch of first human satellites in 1957. How simple and elegant. Okay, not bad. Compare old photographs of the sky with current ones and eliminate the new stuff. With the help of artificial intelligence developed by Veriel and her team, wait a minute, wouldn't all that stuff be moving across the sky? Good question. The team assumed spacefaring civilizations would think like us and put their probes in geosynchronous or Earth orbit, GEOs, like our communications satellites. So, sorry about that for a moment, folks. By the way, folks, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. Remember, the there in the title is misspelled. It's THERE. If you want, when this live stream is finished, go to past live streams on my channel. It'll be right there because YouTube tends to bury my videos at least for a whole day. Or you can use the link on the pinned tweet on my Twitter page, which is at 777 MegaChris1. Also, please hit that like button because it helps me fight the algorithm, and it means my graphic novel Scumdogs comes out all the sooner. As well as please. Yeah, remember, I work on my book on my graphic novel Scumdogs every day, folks, and it'll be out when it's out on Indiegogo. As well as please hit that notification bell and hit the part of the notification bell that will give you all future notifications. And please share this video out on Twitter and Facebook. Let's get back to this article now. They would always remain over the same spot on the surface. In addition, Dead probes that disintegrated into debris could stay for millions of years in that same GEO spot. At higher or GEO altitudes, the presence of satellites or space debris can be detected by fast, transient glints caused by the reflection of the sun. One of those glints just might be alien space junk, and there's already an operational project whose purpose is to look for fading glints that are signs of vanishing stars. The Vasco Citizen Science Project uses astronomical surveys from the past 70 years that include the period before 1959 when Sputnik became the first human-made object in space. Anything with a telltale glint in the sky prior to 1959 just might be alien trash. Varial suggests opening the Vasco project to space trash collectors. The Vasco website gives information on how citizens, well, this is where you can join the search for transient glints and possibly be the first person to discover a piece of alien trash. In the meantime, the transient glints would be a great name. Would be for music, maybe for a rock band, huh? Okay, all right. Not too bad here. Interesting. We also have this article over here. A few articles. Let's see here. Where is it? Explanation: the unseen ones and the winged ones. We have this another article from Phantoms and Monsters talking about what Mothman or winged creatures being seen. They are supposed to be maybe extra-dimensional creatures or aliens. So we'll be looking at this story here as well. As promised in the November 9th Arcane Radio broadcast, I am providing an explanation, a list of the entities now in contact with the Phantoms and Monsters Fortune research team. If this is true, more people should be talking about this. Is this basically a publicity stunt? Because I think more people should be talking about this unless no one even knows about this. After the July 22nd winged humanoid sightings at O'Hare International Airport, it soon became apparent that these unknown beings wanted to make contact with us as a result of the members of the Phantom and Monsters Fortune research team. By the way, these things could also be demons as well, you know. But let's go, since this is a UFO live stream, we'll be assuming that they're aliens. But we shouldn't basically throw out the possibility they're demons either, so who knows. The research team started to receive revelations from the unseen ones, and in turn, encounters with the winged ones. The unseen ones are the elders of the faction. They are a conglomeration of species and councils. They are also advisors and watchers. The unseen ones were the initial contacts with our team members. The winged ones are younger members of the faction. These are the winged humanoids that are seen on our Earth plane. Their presence is similar to a rite of passage, a life stage that they are required to complete before they can ascend to the next level. They appear in different form when on our Earth plane, namely as dark-colored or black entities. These entities describe themselves by gender as well. There are males and females. They have also told our members that their social system is matriarchal. That's where they're led by females, huh? Matriarchal. To be fair, let me say that one more time. Matriarchal, huh? Yeah, that just sounds great. It doesn't sound woke at all. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't know, but great, whatever. I have a bad feeling now. Well, maybe. Should I have a bad feeling, folks? What do you think about this? Whenever something like that comes up now, it makes me groan a bit. It makes me think it's wrong, and I groan. To be fair, their hierarchy and power structure has not yet been detailed. These species of ultra-terrestrial entities have a story to tell us. Little by little, their message, coming forth both intuitively and visually. As time progresses, we hope to disclose a long history of interaction between them and humans and to present why they are now making themselves known. Here is an updated list. Their names. Yukia, male, unseen one. Chilkia, male, winged one. Yuru, female, winged one. Iriel, female, winged one. Ashram, male, winged one. Wall, male, winged one. Urinary, male, winged one. Rikia, male. Rakashi, female, winged one. Twins. Orcs, winged one. Okay. The list will continuously be updated. Phantoms and Monsters and Phantom and Monsters Fortune Research, huh? Okay. What? This seems odd. What do you think about that, folks? Leave me a few chats. Okay, they're supposed to be ultra-terrestrials, and well, they could be aliens, but they could also be creatures that have always lived on Earth. That could also be what's happening. It also seems strange that they seem to be coming out now. But is that actually what's the case here? I'm surprised no one is talking about this more. No one in the UFO community or anyone else talk about this. I mean, for God's sakes, you literally have non-human entities basically talking to humans. So this seems like it could be a publicity stunt. So you gotta wonder where that is. All right, let's go over here. Possible black-eyed kid encounters. Now, the black-eyed kids could also be aliens, and I know this live stream isn't really supposed to be a corrected corner, but hey, a few possible aliens. It could be either cryptids or aliens is allowed. As I said, we just looked at those winged those unseen ones article there, talk about them and stuff like that. As I said, they're ultra-terrestrials or maybe aliens, but they could also be ultra-terrestrials. We also have this article here. Now, these crays could also be what's the one I want to say about this? These guys could also be extraterrestrials or ultra-terrestrials. So we'll look at this black-eyed kid story. 3 different accounts that detail possible black-eyed kid encounters. Have you ever had a similar experience? Feel free to forward. This happened a couple of years ago. My husband and I were up late worrying about our dog. She puked red and we thought she wasn't feeling well. Turns out she had jumped on the dining room table and ate some of my roses. I had in a vase, so she ended up being fine. But husband and I were worried, and I hadn't realized she ate the roses yet. So we decided to go to the vet. It was about 10 or 11 o'clock p.m. When we stepped outside the door, we looked to our left at the cul-de-sac that's next to the neighborhood's empty road, except for one house. An old man and his dog live in a CrossFit gym in the middle of the cul-de-sac. There's this little girl, maybe 4 to 5, riding an old metal tricycle in a circle. The tricycle was making this constant squeak sound, so that itself was pretty creepy. There was something off about it. The way she was riding the tricycle just didn't seem right. My husband and I both remember her being under some kind of light, but there's no street light where she was. And I felt creeped out, but more confused and worried than anything. My husband pulled me away and said, "We got to go." He was pretty freaked out by her. I didn't really get a good look at her eyes. When my husband pulled me away, squeaking stopped, and I thought I heard her say "mommy." I didn't really remember well. Everything happened pretty fast, and I think I glanced back after she stopped pedaling. And as my husband was pulling me away, there was something weird about her face, too. I vaguely remember thinking her eyes were black, but I didn't get a good look. And I also didn't know all about the BEK. I just learned about BEKs recently. Does anyone think this maybe have been a BEK? I had this really strange experience last year, and my brother just told, about he was told about BEK, and I felt like that's what I saw. So last year during Christmas time, my sister and I were having a hard emotional night, and we decided to go around looking at Christmas lights. I was driving, and we were just crying and talking and looking at the decorations. There was a meteor shower that night, and we ended up on this super creepy back road with nothing around. No houses or buildings, no street lights, just words. Somehow we both saw a meteor falling in the sky as I was driving, and we both screamed with shock and excitement. As we looked down into the road, there was a small child on the side of the road, and it had a backpack and was just staring at the car with this insanely scary grimace on its face with huge black sunken-in eyes. It didn't move its body, but its head was moving with the car as we drove past. We freaked the hell out, something screaming and crying just as a shock of what the hell was that. It filled us with such terror. We were both so distraught and upset we wouldn't stop shaking and crying. We couldn't rid ourselves of this horrible feeling. I felt guilty for not stopping if it was something that needed help, but it was the middle of winter, late at night. Nothing was around that road, and there was no reason for someone to be there, and they weren't trying to flag us down for help, just staring. We called the cops and went home and couldn't sleep all night. I still have PTSD when I drive at night. I drew a picture when I got home so I'd never forget what it looked like. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Nepal. I lived in a small and remote village. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Nepal. I lived in a small and remote village. One night I woke up and thought I heard something at my door. I got up, cracked the door, and I saw nothing there. I thought perhaps it was a deer or a porcupine, but there was nothing. I closed the door, turned around, go back into bed. The second I turned around, I saw a child. Black outline, white face, black hair, and deep black eyes. I laid there They're stunned. I quickly pulled the covers over my face. The moment I did I woke up. It was a dream. The same night sequence in the dream was reality. It was freaky. It felt so real. I can remember the boy's outline and eyes. A week or so later, my host father unexpectedly passed away. It was devastating to the family and entire community for a long time. I thought my dream was a bad omen. At times, I tried to think it wasn't related at all. It was weird in time, and it scared me. All right, that was an interesting little story there. Let's look at some more alien stories. Do you think it was aliens, or do you think it was cryptids here? Who knows? This is one of those weird stories where you really feel like this could possibly be either, couldn't we? That's why I wanted to bring them both up. They could be extraterrestrials or ultra-terrestrials. We don't know. We have a few more alien stories to look at, folks. And Argentina UFO witness claims to have been teleported 40 miles by a bright light. Have I read this story yet? Folks don't remember. The Roswell Incident, do any of the explanations really give us the full story? Let's look at this. Let's look at this story, folks? Feel free to leave me a few chats. I want to hear your ideas on this. What is your ideas on aliens? We've talked about this a few times before and having some fun. It is arguably the most talked about UFO event in history, and undeniably the most famous involving a purported UFO crash. What happened at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947? It would be hard to say just how many researchers have weighed in on the case over the years, although a handful rose to prominence for their investigations of it. The time and effort put forward the case are easy to understand, since at one time it appeared to be what UFO researchers had long been waiting for. The smoking gun, as it were. Today, the famous Roswell incident in 1947 appears to have lost at least some of its luster, even for those who once championed it. One doesn't have to even accept the official explanation offered by the United States Air Force in a pair of reports it published in the 1990s that the incident stemmed from an incident involving the crash of a once top-secret Project Mogul balloon. To acknowledge another reality about Roswell, that championing this case alone won't be enough, in the culture of dismissals and denials about the topic that have prevailed in government for so many decades. However, today, with new efforts underway that could result in the establishment of one office of unidentified aerial phenomena investigations within government, its name is outlined in a recently proposed amendment to the Defense Authorization Act. Fiscal year 2022 will likely be the Anomaly Surveillance and Resolution Office. Some have begun to wonder if the final word on Roswell might not change again. This especially if the government's renewed efforts to resolve issues about the phenomenon revisit historical cases from decades ago and provide any further details about such cases to the public. Interesting. What do you all think about that? As I keep asking you, leave me a few chats. I want to hear your ideas on this stuff. As well as please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. Remember the there is misspelled. It's THERE. Hit that like button for me because it helps me fight the algorithm. Okay. As well as please go hit that bell for notifications and make sure to hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications. And please share this video out on Twitter, Facebook, and Gab. Let's get back to this article now. Roswell naturally comes to mind here since it is in the case that captured the mind of the public and especially those of UFO enthusiasts. Following the earlier reinvestigations of the case beginning in the 1970s, researchers William Moore and Charles Bielitz published the first book to look into the matters, drawing in part from investigations conducted by Stenton Friedman, who would go on to author books of his own on the topic. In addition to becoming a central media personality regarding the case, researchers Kevin Randall and Don Schmidt would thereafter go in search of additional witnesses, further working to flesh out sequence of events. It was an admirable and very time-consuming work, and we eventually, it was hoped that enough witness testimony witness testimony would pay off. Yet for many years, skeptics have been willing to brush aside the witness testimony. This especially became true after the USAF released its reports in the 1990s, which seemed to leave no further doubts about what had actually crashed at Roswell. Yes, something certainly did crash at Roswell, and yes, the USAF was involved in a cover-up. The reason they said did not have to do with an alien bodies, however, instead dealt with a highly sensitive project that should information about it become available to the public could have gravely impacted national security. This official scenario does still explain at least some of the eyewitness testimony from those who claim they had observed wreckage and might even have received threats from members of the military who were busy trying to hide what had actually happened. On account of the fact for a time I had personally been one willing to accept the determinations offered in the pair of reports published by the USAF in the 1990s, maybe the incident really wasn't at all that it had been made out to be. If anything, maybe the widespread belief in the crash of an alien vehicle, not a spy balloon, actually would have aided the cover-up, and terribly might have been encouraged at times by the U.S. Air Force first and stuff like that. However, there are still a number of problems with the official USAF explanation that must be acknowledged too. The most obvious one is the fact that the cover-up actually did occur, and because of this, the explanations for what happened at Roswell have continually changed over the years. First, it was announced that one of the mysterious flying discs had indeed been captured, only to be changed to a weather balloon. The following day, the explanation changed again, and once the USAF acknowledged the mogul scenario decades later. By this time, it was already evident that the government's position had changed more than once, so what was to keep the newest explanation from being anything different? If they lied to cover up the truth, what would prevent them from doing it again? If Roswell actually did represent something more than a top-secret Cold War-era surveillance balloon. Here's a picture of that famous incident. Jesse Marcel poses with purported wreckage belonging to, the balloon, as described in newspaper reports after the incident had been initially cited as a crashed flying disc. All right. Perhaps the most troubling issues with the Roswell story has to do with the witnesses. Although attempts have been made over the years to reconcile the stories about alien wreckage and even alien bodies purportedly found at the site of the alleged crash, it becomes hard to understand how all of this testimony from these individuals could be entirely wrong. This had been especially been the case with mortician Glenn Dennis, who provided lengthy testimony about receiving a call learning about small caskets that could be hermetically sealed, and thereafter meeting a nurse at the nearby Roswell Army Field Hospital who had been badly shocked after seeing alien bodies. This after having his own run-in with officials at the base who had threatened that his bones would be picked clean if he talked about what he saw there that day and that he would make good dog food. Dennis was only one of the individuals who claimed to have seen alien bodies, of course, or at least have knowledge of them. Some accounts even tell that, Chav's country sheriff, George Wilcox, had learned about the crash prior to rancher Mac Brazel, who discovered the wreckage on his ranch, appearing in town and discussing it. Wilcox's wife, Inez, later told her granddaughter, Barbara Duggar, that Wilcox and his deputies had been aware of the crash site location that the bodies had been found, although she was unsure if Wilcox himself had seen the bodies. Much like changing stories about what precisely occurred at Roswell in the first place, attempting to reconcile the claims about alien bodies has resulted in a variety of different explanations provided by the U.S. Air Force. Among these include observations of crash test dummies, injured parachutists whose appearances might have included swelling that resembled the large eyes of purported alien occupants, and even the charred remains of the crew aboard a crashed aircraft involving an incident which didn't occur until the following decade. According to the USAF reports published in the 1990s, these separate events were consolidated by the witnesses over the years and misremembered, as all having been centered on the incident at Roswell in the summer of 1947. Of course, each of these various narratives may individually be true. However, the notion that a combination of separate incidents like this could have really been so confusingly misremembered as being part of a single incident and one involving something so specific as the discovery of exotic aircraft wreckage and the remains of occupants seems dubious. While many accept the USAF explanations at face value, as even I at one time had been more than willing to do, it would be fair to say that there are still more than a few problems with the various scenarios that they have attempted to jumble together as a solution for what many witnesses all claim to have been a single event in 1947. In conclusion, while there is always the possibility that it was not what many popular books, films, and television shows have made it out to be, there does seem to be something deeper to the Roswell mystery that remains waiting to be a complete and more logically consistent resolution than what the public has already been given. Such questions have caused me to step back on several occasions, attempt to reevaluate and make sense of both the official claims as well as those who maintain the popular version of the story that the Roswell incident involved a crashed UFO. It does not therefore seem reasonable to question whether any of the numerous explanations actually solve the mystery of what happened in New Mexico desert back in 1947. If anything, the official narratives provided by the USAF may actually only add mud to the already murky water surrounding one of the most perplexing American mysteries to have occurred since the end of WW2. Okay, that was fun. That was a long article. Whew. Let's see, some more alien stories. Woman claims she has evidence her eggs were abducted to make hybrid ET babies. Let's take a look at this article. If I read this one, I'm not quite sure. But we can look at it. All right. Time travelers and Bigfoot spotters aren't the only people sharing stories on TikTok these days. A young woman recently revealed her eggs were abducted by extraterrestrials, with eggs being taken away to be used for making alien-human hybrid babies. Is her story more believable than the time travelers or Bigfoot witnesses? 3 million people have downloaded one of her set of egg-removed videos, and her story isn't as far-fetched as one might imagine. I think I already read this article. Have I read this article? Leave me a few chats if I have or not. Kind of don't really want to read this since I do think I've read it. Shara Lamar Rejoice presents a description of her alien encounter worthy of the opening scene of a sci-fi thriller, huh? All right, I'm not going to take the chance that I read this before. Sorry, folks. I want to look at something I haven't seen before. Let's see. A master mathematician is bizarre efforts to contact Martians. Okay, let's look at this. The history of the astronomy and pushing out into the great unknown of the nature of our universe is littered with absurd ideas. The forgotten corpse of what we now see as the ridiculous back in the late 19th and earliest centuries. Such tales abound. One area that has had its share of missteps is that of trying to contact intelligent alien life in the cosmos. Even with our modern efforts at sending out probes and radio signals, we have still failed to reach our ultimate goal of proving we are not alone in the universe. And things get weirder. Back in those days, there was an era in which it was given that Mars and even the moon were inhabited by intelligent beings, and there was much talk of this at the time. It may seem pretty dumb today. In an age in which Mars is thought to be inhabited by microbial life at best, and the moon is barren wasteland, but there was a different era in which our understanding of the solar system was very incomplete. And here we will look at a brilliant mathematician whose bizarre efforts were the first to reach out to alien life in an age before radio signals and probes. Born in 1877 is what is now Germany, part of Lower Saxony, Germany. Johann Carl Friedrich Gus wouldn't have seemed like he was destined for an academic greatness as one of the most respected and influential mathematicians and physicists who ever lived, known as the Princeps Mathematicorum, or the foremost of mathematicians. He was born into poverty to an illiterate mother and working-class father, and at first it might seem that he was going to end up in the same way. But from a very early age, Gus began showing signs that he was actually a child prodigy with an immense natural gifts for math. As early as the age of 3, Gus began to show an uncommon ability to solve math problems. As he went through school, he was from the age of 7, far surpassing any other children in his class, and by the time he was a teenager, he had already made groundbreaking mathematical discoveries, going on to write his work on a number theory called Discourse Mathematica, which sorry if I mispronounced that name, folks, which earned the theory a place in mathematics as a legitimate field and is considered to this day to be incredibly influential. Here's a picture of him. Okay. Gus would make countless discoveries and advancements in the mathematics, discovering and rediscovering important theorems, refining and advancing existing ones, proving the fundamental theorem of algebra, which had stumped some of the most respected mathematicians in the world, and driving number theory among many, many other achievements, including even claiming to have discovered the possibility of non-Euclidean geometries. Euclidean geometries. Okay, I hope I got that right. He also branched out into physics and astronomy, where he proved to be just as successful and brilliant. Perhaps one of his greatest achievements in astronomy was rediscovering the dwarf planet Sirius. The planet had been discovered by Italian astronomer Giuseppe Perazza in 1801, but had lost it when he had gone behind the glare of the sun and then had never reappeared. At the time, the math just wasn't enough to extrapolate its position from the small amount of data on hand. Gus was fascinated with the story, and within 3 months was able to accurately calculate the position where it would be rediscovered by French Azar von Zach the same year. Due to his accomplishments in astronomy, Gus would become professor of astronomy and director of the Astronomical Research Garden in 1807. He would go on to develop a revolutionary theory of the notion of planetoids disturbed by large planets, which he released in 1809 as a manuscript titled Theta Martis Corpium Colestium in Sanctum Consolium Ambrotium. I'm sorry I can't really say this name, which would become, as I get back to this article, which would become a fundamental for astronomical calculations ever since he remained ever active and continued contributing to the fields of math, physics, and astronomy. but among all of this was the time he tried to signal aliens. Besides astronomy, planets, and other celestial bodies, Gus was also very interested in the idea of extraterrestrial life. And, like many others at the time, he believed that Mars and the Moon were inhabited by intelligent extraterrestrials. In 1820, he decided to carry out what was perhaps the first attempt by human beings to try and contact alien civilization. But it was not to be radio waves, but rather an idea called Gus's Pythagorean right triangle proposal. It basically entailed creating immense visual proof of the Pythagorean theorem, consisting of right triangle. Immense right triangle bordered on each side by a square made physically enormous, enough to be seen by telescope by aliens on Mars or the Moon. He wanted to do this by planting vast fields of what among a pine forest in Siberia shaped into the Pythagorean theorem, with wheat contrasting with the darker coloring of the surrounding forest, allowing it to be seen from space. Guests believe that this would simultaneously show extraterrestrials that we had a basic grasp of geometry, as well as demonstrate our capacity for large-scale culture. The Australian astronomer Johann von Littrow would be influenced by this idea when he proposed changing patterns of canals in the Sahara Desert in the shape of triangles, circles, and squares, and then igniting them into a fiery blaze at night to signal aliens. Not much more of this. Not that much more. Neither of these plans ever did go through, but Gus kept at it. In 1818, he came up with the invention called a telescope, which was a mirror that could send messages over a long distance by reflecting sunlight. In 1821, Gus used this to form another idea for contacting aliens, this time using an array of 16 mirrors to flash messages to the Moon or Mars to contact the extraterrestrials. If he was convinced lived there, Gus would expand this concept to an even more ambitious project, including 100 mirrors, of which he would say in March 25th, 1822, later to the German physician and astronomer Heinrich Olbers, with 100 separate mirrors, each of 16 feet square, used conjointly, one would be able to send good and heliotrope light to the Moon. This would be a discovery even greater than that of America, if we could get in touch with our neighbors on the Moon. He never did get around to pulling off this either, but the mirror idea would be used in 1874 when the eccentric French engineer Charles Crush would successfully propose having the French government fund an enormous mirror that would theoretically actually burn messages into the surface of the Moon like a giant laser beam. Another Frenchman named A. Mercer suggested covering the Eiffel Tower with the giant mirrors to send messages to Mars, and the mirror thing was a pretty popular for the time as a method of to theoretically contact alien beings, namely Martians. Sadly, Gus would die in 1855, leaving behind an impressive legacy, but without having ever realized his dream of contacting aliens. The idea of using optical methods to contact Martians went on all the way up until they became obsolete when Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi transmitted his radio messages in 1899, heralding the dawn of a new era of human communication. On November 16th, 1874, astronomer Frank Drake would send to the radio signals specifically to contact alien civilizations for M13, where was I? His dream, where was so to M13, a cluster of stars in the constellation of Hercules from an observatory in Arecibo, Arecibo. Sorry if I got that wrong. And so the days of a giant mirrors and physical landscapes to contact aliens ended. The new era began, and we still have had no luck. Every day we may finally make contact somehow, and we can all look back and think about the first time we tried, when a mathematical genius wanted to reach aliens with his wheat mirrors. Okay. That's interesting, huh, folks? What do you think about these chats, huh? What do you think about these stories? And send me a few chats. I want to hear your ideas on aliens. Do you believe they exist? Do you think some of these creatures are actually extraterrestrials, or are they from other universes and they visit ours? Is that what aliens actually are? I don't know. But these stories are certainly interesting to read through, aren't they? But what do they possibly mean? We're coming to the end of this live stream, folks. I'm going to thank you for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. Please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You, okay? The there in the title is misspelled. It's THERE. If you want to watch this live stream again, as soon as it's done being made, go to past live streams on my YouTube channel, or go to the Twitter page. Go to my Twitter page, go to my Twitter page, which is at 777megachris1. All right. Hit that bell for notifications, because hitting that bell, hit that like button for notifications. Hitting that like button means you all help me fight the algorithm, which means my graphic novel Scumdogs comes out all the sooner. As well as hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell for notifications that will give you all future notifications. And please share this video out on Twitter and Facebook. All right, folks, please go over and subscribe to the YouTube channels. One of them is Stitched Together Pics. Stitched Together Pics is a YouTube channel that's great to watch. It's hosted by the Maniacal Cinephile. This character has multiple personalities, so you're not just getting one character, you're getting a whole lot of them. They play video. Yeah. He watches movies and does reviews of them, so go and subscribe to Stitched Together Pics, as well as go over and subscribe to Robot Co-op. Robot Co-op is like Mystery Science Theater 3000. They use these robot puppets to do live streams. They play video games during their live streams, and they are fun. You're not just getting, it's just fun watching Robot Co-op. So go and subscribe to them. As well as, remember, folks, go over and subscribe to Creepy Little Book. Creepy Little Book is like the Art Bell radio show. He does little videos that are basically a few minutes long, talking about high strangeness. You'll learn a lot from these live streams. They are great. As well as go over and remember, he does live stream. Yeah, he does little videos for that and stuff like that. He also does live streams on weekdays. He live streams at 12:30 a.m. He talks about aliens and ghosts. And, here's also a lot of information you'll learn about the paranormal. You'll love watching Creepy Little Book. He is great. Remember, folks, I'll be back again tomorrow around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or maybe 8, 10, or 11 o'clock for another live stream. So be sure to come back again then. All right? That's not too bad. All right, folks, I am Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me.